Getting started, I would definitely just have a mental mindset to where you know that it's not going to be easy. There's going to be long days. You're going to put in a ton of hard work. There will be ups and downs. It's not all going to be, a perfect world. But the most important thing is just knowing that the more work you put in, the better results you're going to get. And the more risk you take, most likely the more reward you're going to get.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Real Pasadena Podcast. This show is dedicated to sharing the experiences of local business owners and inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs here in Pasadena, Maryland, and beyond. My guest on this episode is Joe Devine, owner of the Carpet Sanitizers. Joe began his entrepreneurial journey 14 years ago with a dedication to delivering top-notch carpet cleaning services. Over the years, he's honed his approach, focusing on community engagement, exceptional customer service, and maintaining a healthy work-life balance. In our interview, Joe shares insights into his entrepreneurial journey, emphasizing the power of communication, community involvement, and continuous improvement. This episode is sponsored by Buxton Media Productions, your one-stop shop for video production, podcasting, and editing services. Whether you're looking to produce a promotional video for your business, create more consistency with your social media content, or even start your own podcast, Buxton Media Productions has everything you need to get started. They even have a local studio right here in Pasadena where we're recording this podcast. To learn more, visit them online at buxtonmediaproductions.com.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe. Appreciate you being on the podcast today. Welcome. I know this is your first podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a seasoned expert at 10 episodes now. But thank you for being here. Try to make this as painless as possible. Try to make it just about you kind of sharing your story. So let's start from the beginning of when did you know that you wanted to go into business for yourself?
So I come from a family of business owners. Grandfather owned a successful business. A great uncle owned a successful business. My parents both were in their own business growing up. And I also saw like my uncle who had actually a carpet cleaning business. And my cousins worked for him growing up. And I got a high school job cleaning carpets and doing post-construction cleaning probably in about my junior year, and really liked it. It was like, you get to see the before and after, show up to a problem, you find a solution, and you walk away with a finished product that, kind of gives you a little gratification. So after I graduated high school, went to college, and, focused more on entrepreneurship and business school, I realized that, it might be the best thing for me to try to venture out on my own and start my own business. And, all through college, the professors, emphasize that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Long days, hard work. And, you realize that real fast. But, at that point in time, when I dove into it, I realized that, now it's my responsibility, and it's whatever I make of this.
Sure.
So it's not something that just happens overnight, obviously. But I kind of I guess you could say most like the mentors that I had growing up and sitting back and seeing what they were doing. And I guess just gave me something inside that made me want to try it on my own. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting coming from, a family of entrepreneurs. I'm sure that gave you some really good insights into what that world was like. We both graduated from Chesapeake High School, which is one of the reasons why I like having you on the podcast, because I talk about my experience of feeling like the path that would have worked best for me, I had to discover later on. Now, you did go to college, and it was interesting. You got your bachelor's in entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about that and what some of those classes look like for you.
So a lot of the classes teach you the basic principles of business. You got your accounting, you got your finance. You had some really interesting classes that touched on private equity and venture capitalism, which is, those were some of my favorite classes just because, you really dive into these big corporations and see what they're doing to get to the point where they're at. And they started just like everybody else from just an idea, an idea that needed some fire under it to get to the point where, it got to these, with these companies. But, I look back all the time, and it's just the fact that, when I was in college, the most, I would say, inspirational thing was some of my professors. They really like touched some points where you're like, man, this guy, he's an intelligent individual, and that's why he's teaching us this. There's a reason he's up in the front of the class of 30, 40 students, showing us the ropes of what's entailed. So all of those courses, combined were, very, 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 inspirational on moving forward to maybe start a business, and it's a big thing.
So what was your first step then coming out of college? Because this is new to me, so I'm curious. Going to college to be a business owner, to be an entrepreneur. If it were for anything else, right? It's like, okay, I know I want to be, this role, so I'm going to go look for a job in this position and apply. How does that look as an entrepreneur? And you kind of touched on it. I was going to ask the question of why carpet cleaning? Like, why did you decide to go down that path, and what was your first step?
So with the whole carpet cleaning thing, it was mainly I had done it, and I had seen like what I was doing, and I liked it. When I was a little kid, I used to run around vacuuming the house all the time, and it was just some type of, I don't know if it's a weird thing, but
therapeutic.
Yeah, I guess it was satisfying. It was seeing a clean room when I walk into it, it just made me feel better. So when it was time to start a business, it was kind of like my family had been in the restaurant business. Like I said, my uncle was in the carpet cleaning business. Did I, observe him and monitor him while he was working? No, I never got to do that, but it was just random that I got a job, in high school, carpet cleaning, and I enjoyed it. Just mainly the before and after effect is big for me.
So your first step then, did you go out and buy a bunch of equipment? Did you build a website? Like what was the first step you took to get started?
So that's a very interesting thing. I actually had a foot in the door with this carpet cleaning, and we also did post-construction cleaning.
Okay. This is the same job you worked for?
Same venture, okay. Same job that I'd worked for in high school. And the guy, he was an older gentleman. He was pretty much ready to retire. He had a son that worked with us as well, but his son really wasn't, he didn't have that mindset like he wanted to take over his father's business. So me and another guy, kind of piggybacked off of each other and said, hey, we can help you out, easing into our future, whatever we want to do with our, our goals. And it kind of lasted like a year or two, but it was just back and forth. Like, is he really going to transition and step away completely, or is it just going to be us? But, the whole thing of starting out, you kind of try to start out with the basics. I didn't go out and take out a big loan. I signed for a truck-mounted carpet cleaning van. Mm-hmm. And the funny story is you're out of college with no credit, no business credit, no track record of, making payments for something, of that type of value.
Sure.
So my father helped me co-sign for my first vehicle, which had a van mounted into it, and, it was pretty much ready to rock and roll. But you get the piece of equipment mounted in the brand new van with a brand new piece of equipment, which came with a heavy payment every month.
That's motivation.
Yeah, I mean, you have to stay motivated. There's no way around it. I mean, so I try to explain, like, starting out, if you don't go and dive in and take out a big loan, it's very difficult, kind of establishing a clientele, building relationships, and just trying to get your foot in the door.
What did that look like getting started as far as with the marketing and getting those first couple clients?
So the first couple clients was quite the challenge. you know, you're fresh out of college, you know, you want to get to work, but, you know, there's no work to do. You don't know where to find it. Obviously, you're taught how to market, but it just doesn't fall in your lap, you know, and you're always looking for the home run, like when you start a business and you want this big contract that, you know, can keep you busy and you're working every day, but it's very hard to come by.
Yeah.
You know, somebody looks at me and like, oh, this, you know, young guy out of college, he's got nice equipment, but I don't know anything about him. You know, he hasn't done any work. He has no track record behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was tough, like, putting trust in, you know, potential clients to actually use me.
Now, were you looking at commercial jobs, residential jobs?
I was pretty much looking at anything to, you know, just to get my foot in the door, get my name out there.
Sure.
You know, I had a couple part-time helpers that would help me. And, you know, like if we got a bigger job, we'd pull through. I had friends and family that would help. You know, this is all starting out. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're scraping together. You know, you get a big job and you got to buy a couple $1,000s in chemicals and, you know, you got a business credit line, but, you know, do you want to use that to like do that and you're not getting paid for 60 or 90 days? Like, and it's like the weighing your options first starting out is one of the most difficult things.
Yeah.
And
do you think that the college classes help kind of prepare you for that?
the college classes do give you a well-rounded basis, but from experience, you'll learn so much about business in your first 3 years that, you know, you can't knock, you know, getting your degree and everything because you do learn a lot. And you meet people, you learn how to talk to people, you learn core values when it comes to business. But, you know, like, do you go out there and know exactly what you have to do to turn over, you know, to start turning a profit? Absolutely not. You know, there's a lot to learn when you first start out.
Sure. So at what point did you rebrand to Carpet Sanitizers? You kind of separated from the partnership and went out on your own?
Yeah, so me and my friend had a lot of trouble. It was like a friend we played sports together growing up, and we had trouble staying on the same page. He lived out west and he was out in like Frederick at the time. I was back here in Pasadena. It's kind of tough communicating, meeting on a daily basis.
Sure.
Like it kind of just faded out to the point where I feel like I was more motivated to get like smaller jobs and he wanted these bigger jobs, which we didn't have the manpower. We didn't have the resources to handle these jobs. So it was kind of like, I need to figure something out because at this point, you know, you're out on your own now. I had already owned a home. I mean, it was like I needed to, you know, get some income rolling in. Yeah. So it kind of got to the point where it was either I had to break away, pay off all the debt we had and move forward, or like we really had to sit down and work together, or I had to go back to a 9 to 5, you know, and, you know, go back to my roots and get a job. So
I've been there before.
Yeah. So it's just I can tell you a funny story. So one of the first checks we got, me and my partner at the time, you know, we're so excited. We finished this job. I think like 10 days later, we got a check. This is the first check that we had received. And, you know, we take it up to the bank to cash it. And they're like, you can't cash that check here. And we were like, why not? Oh, you have to have an account here. Oh, what kind of account? Oh, a business account. Oh, that's new. I didn't learn that in college. You know,
that's funny.
Can we sit down and open up an account? So it's just funny, small things like that. They don't teach you. And it's like, if I could, you know, I say it all the time, but this is far-fetched. Like if I could teach a business 101, the real practical stuff that you need to know, like ASAP when you're starting a business.
Well, let's hear it. You got a microphone.
Well,
what do you think?
That's one of them. You have to have an established bank account to cash a business check.
Which you have to have an LLC set up for.
Written from another company. You do have to have an LLC and
or
a lot
EIN number or something.
A lot of the legal stuff, yes, a tax identification number. Like, they do teach you that in business school. But when you get put in the hot seat and you don't have, like I said, you don't have the funding to hire an accountant right away.
Yeah.
You don't have the funding to hire a lawyer.
Well, you're focused on how can I provide a service and get paid?
Yes.
How
can I book the next job to complete it and, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
But those, like I said, those first 3 years, you really learn a lot. And you also learn a lot when it comes to marketing. Like, do you want to get your foot in the door for a lower price, or do you want to, kind of bend to what they're going to offer or what's in their budget? And that's another thing you learn right away. Yeah. But you have to have your number. You have to have your number that works for you, to where you can pay for the expenses, pay your labor, and then still have money, at the end.
Yeah, we talk about positioning, right? How do you position your company? You can compete on price, or I was actually just talking to a friend at lunch today. It was like, you can be the cheapest guy, or you can be the most expensive guy. Being the middle guy is kind of a tough spot.
Yes.
But competing on price is always a challenge.
Very.
So to have a value proposition outside of that.
Yes.
Where do you stand on that now? Where do you?
I wouldn't consider myself the cheapest, and I wouldn't consider myself the most expensive. But am I a little higher priced? I would say yes. But for more personalized service with better quality, better guarantees, that's what you're getting when you use the Carpet Sanitizers.
Yeah.
It's I want to establish a relationship. I just don't want to come in there and charge you the most money and put like a sour taste in the customer's mouth. Just like, was that worth it? What we just paid for that? Sure. I want them to feel that way, but I feel like I've come out with a good equation for the numbers to where they're satisfied, and I'm kind of in the middle of the road. Do I constantly check on competitors' pricing? Yes, but I try to separate myself from competitors in terms of the quality, appearance and quality.
Well, I think one of the big things is that you're focused on building those relationships and really focused in the community, especially Pasadena. Can you speak to that a little bit more, like your intentions and how you kind of go about that? Because as a business, when you're probably more built for like referrals, right? You want to deliver a quality service, and they're going to be happy, and then they're going to refer you, right? That's a big part of my business and a lot of other, I think, local businesses who really focus on the community. So how's the community impacted you in your decision making?
What's up, Pasadena? I'm James Bowerman, your Pasadena Realtor and host of the Real Pasadena Podcast. As a lifelong resident, I've experienced firsthand what makes our town such an amazing place to live, work, and play. As a local real estate agent, having the opportunity to serve so many wonderful people in our community is truly a great honor. If you're thinking about making a move, let me show you how my knowledge and experience can help you achieve your real estate goals. To learn more or to schedule a private consultation, please visit realcreativegroup.com.
Yeah, I mean, you can attest, referrals are everything. We all rely on referrals. We want to help other people just as much as people try to help us. One of my big things is referring others that, the communication has to be there. If you're going to refer somebody, you want to communicate. I try to make, open communication to where somebody contacts me and just say if I'm too busy, if I can't get right on it, I'm gonna call them back and tell them like, hey, I'm a little busy right now. Here's the soonest we can fit you in. But the fact that of not calling back is like a common thing these days, and it's not a good name on your back. It's like a few people hear that. I try to keep a good track record to the point where I try to stay loyal, to know that if you call me, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be transparent. And I think a lot of other business owners in the community know that about me. But if they refer me, I'm going to make sure I do my best to keep that customer satisfied. Sure. That way they give them good feedback. The same that I want if I refer somebody.
Yeah.
I want them calling me, hey, he did a great job and thanks for the referral. I'm going to tell everybody else about him too. And that's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But, the whole local thing, You know, if I could keep my business in a 10-mile radius around Pasadena and not have to leave, you know, anywhere, like stay in Anne Arundel County, like that would be fantastic. And that's why you try to build these relationships. It seems like the more people you meet, the more connections you make, like the more your name gets around, and you just you want positive feedback. You know, you don't want anything, you know, in the terms of like, oh, I didn't hear from him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he didn't contact me back. Like, that's like one of my big things that I try to make sure I communicate. Like, hey, do I make mistakes? Yes. We're all human.
Yep.
You know, but do I make every effort not to? Yes, I do. So that's important.
That's great. Communication is so important.
Very.
That's great. So when it comes to building your business, how long have you been
14
officially?
years.
14 years?
Yes.
So in 14 years, what's the most valuable lesson that you've learned?
The most valuable lesson, I would say, in 14 years is I listen to a lot of people. You know, I pick a lot of people's brains that have been in business, you know, 30, 40 years, a lot longer than I have.
Sure.
And, you know, one of the biggest things is they all strive on communication. And between communication and going out and doing what you say you're going to do and do a good job, just good workmanship, then, you know, they say good work, you'll never be without work. A lot of sayings like that really stick with me. And that's one of my biggest things that, you know, every day I want to do the best I can do. I want my guys doing the best they can do. I want everybody on all cylinders, you know, just doing the best customer service possible. But one of the biggest things I learned from, you know, speaking to others about, you know, entrepreneurs, small business owners that have been in business forever is the whole work-life balance. And I'm sure you're familiar.
You've got a wife and kids at home. Yeah, let's hear it. How do you manage the balance, or whatever you would want to frame it as?
So honestly, until about 8 years ago, when my first child was born, my daughter was born, it was, you know, I was still just like, you know, I guess you call it in a small business, I was still hungry. You know, I want to provide the best for my wife. I want to provide the best to start this family. And it's like you're working, you know, whenever you can. So it's not like you draw that line and say, this is family time. You know, hey, did I spend time with my wife? Yes. But until I really had children, I didn't realize it. So when I had children, I separated a fine line. You have your 9 to 5 business hours, Monday through Friday, and then everything after that is after hours. So that's when I established a rate that if you're getting our service from 5 o'clock on in the evening or any weekends, it's got to be a higher rate.
That's interesting.
You know, and it's just no way around it, because you'll never be able to spend family time if you don't draw that line somewhere. But does that also come with having a more established clientele to the point where I can separate that? Like, yes, but like I say, the few people that told me this, it like always stuck with me. Like, do not ever, ever, ever work your life away without spending time with your family, because you'll regret it for the rest of your life.
That's good advice.
So many people have told me that, and it stuck with me. But, you know, since my daughter, and I have a son that he's 6 now, it's been that same thing. But when it's family time, it's, you know, it's time to spend time with your family.
Yeah,
so you have to draw that line.
100%. It can be tough. I know, going through that experience myself, and especially like you said, starting, you know, before you have the family and you have that drive, and you got to make it work, and I remember working 7 days a week, you know, nights, weekends, whatever, you know, and then priorities change, especially with the kids, right?
Yes.
And then realizing what's important, putting up those barriers. I really love that idea of, okay, if it's outside these hours, it's going to be more. Yep. You know, you'd have to make it worth it for me to to take time away from the family. So
it's
that's
true. And
smart.
For your employees as well, if somebody's out there working for you, it's not just about me, it's about other people too, because, hey, if I take that job, then somebody's got to do it, even if I don't do it. And what if they're leaving their families to do it? It's just not a, the weekends I look at family time, and it should be family time for everybody. Hey, do people work on weekends? Like, yes, of course, but, hopefully they're getting a day off during the week to spend time with their families, but, I mean, you see how quick your kids grow up, and, it's incredible, but it's just so important to me, especially, you want to be a father, you want to be a husband.
Yeah, they're only kids for so long.
Yes.
So you want to be present. That's
yes.
what I love. It's great. All right. One more question in line with that. 14 years of experience. You didn't have the family when you first got started, right? So what would be one piece of advice you would give yourself getting started if you could go back in time?
Well, obviously getting started, I would definitely just have a mental mindset to where that it's not going to be easy. There's going to be long days. You're going to put in a ton of hard work. There will be ups and downs. It's not all going to be, a perfect world. But the most important thing is just knowing that the more work you put in, the better results you're going to get. And the more risk you take, most likely the more reward you're going to get. So it's one of those things where, what are you willing to risk? How much time are you willing to put into it? Like you see this venture and you can see the long, sight of what can come of it. Mm-hmm. But what are you capable of putting into this? Like that's what I would push these young entrepreneurs though. I mean, do it while you're young, Try to establish, before you start a family,
No, it's great. I share with you, like I was 30 when I realized there was this other path of being an entrepreneur, business owner, not just working a career. And by that point, things had evolved with the internet, with YouTube, with social media, right?
Yep.
And I got into real estate and I found bigger pockets. And then I'm seeing like these 20-year-olds buying multifamilies. And I'm like, man, when I was 20, my money was going towards all sorts of crap. I didn't, I didn't know. I didn't have the discipline. I'm like, I can't get in a time machine, but we can at least share the advice with. Yeah,
and look where you are now.
Start young.
10 years later, look where you are.
It's never too late, right, to get started.
It's never too late, and you can have it any angle you take at it. It's going to be whatever you want. You want it, what you want to make of it.
Yeah.
Like
I love that about being a business owner, an entrepreneur of like it's whatever you make with it. You said the more you put into it, the more you can get out of it.
Yep.
And you have that flexibility, which is kind of leads me to the next question. What do you love most about being a business owner?
I mean, I guess you could say it's like you feel like you're in control. But are you really in control? Because your clients are your bosses.
That was going to be my point. Yes,
it's one of those things.
You work for your clients, right?
Yes, you work for your clients, so you do have bosses. You have several bosses that you're catering to make sure that they're happy.
Yeah.
To make sure that you two are on the same page. But if as an entrepreneur, if I feel like vacation time for your family to reset yourself is very good for your mind in general, to kind of sit back and relax a little bit. But will I lie to you and say that I don't think about my business when I'm on vacation?
It's tough to turn it off.
It's impossible to turn it off. Like I try to explain to people, they say, "Oh, you own your own business," but I'm constantly thinking about it. Ways to improve, ways to get better. But I would say the freedom, is like my big thing. And it's hard to say, like, since high school, since I was working, I technically haven't been employed under a boss. So at this point in time, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say I'm spoiled, because it hasn't been an easy road, but I guess I'm fortunate to have that type of freedom to where it goes back to I control what I want to do. So
yeah, that's great. So when it comes to learning and growing, do you still seek out wisdom from others, or do you read books, podcasts? How do you continue to improve?
Constantly picking others' brains with like just seeing what they're doing, seeing what's working for them, looking at, successful business owners in the area. Like I said, I take a lot of advice from people that have been in business longer than me, and I'm not ashamed to say that because it's true. I mean, It's like if they have these great ideas that has been working for them, then why can't it work for me? I just joined a network recently, once a month meeting. Picking people's brains is one of my favorite thing to do. I know you enjoy it as well. So it's one of those.
I
things.
love learning.
Yeah.
It's an addiction.
Yes.
To want to constantly improve and get better, and learn from other people's mistakes.
Learning from mistakes is a big thing, and you learn from your own mistakes as well. Like, what could I have done better? Like why'd I do that? But the whole book thing, I'm not a big reader. But I do listen to audio books. I do listen to podcasts. In undergrad school, I was a big fan of case studies. Like, I love case studies.
What is that like?
Just say a 30 to 50 page excerpt on a problem.
Okay.
With a business or with a sector of a business. And, me and like 3 other colleagues would read it, and we'd get together and we'd all pick apart what we thought what we thought was wrong with the story or with what their problem was, and it was all problem solving, but it also was teamwork to solve the problem. But then, it would be 10 teams and everybody presents, what their standpoint on the problem was, but it was, they're true stories. So it was very inspirational, intriguing. Like it really makes you think, and that's what I like. And I like showing up every day to work with a new task, with a new problem, looking for a solution. That's what keeps my mind active.
Awesome. I love it. I call myself the creative agent, the Real Creative Group. This word creative, which I always kind of internally joke because I don't feel like I'm the most creative person. Like, for me, creativity is just problem solving. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty good at solving problems. One of my favorite quotes is the secret to creativity is knowing how to hide your sources.
And that's true.
But it's so true. You have to constantly be solving problems, right? Because if you can solve these problems, then you have value.
100%.
And people continue to want to work with you.
Yeah.
So, Joe, thanks for being here. How can people find you, connect with you?
You can find me. I have a Facebook page. If you have my phone number, you can contact the Carpet Sanitizers.
What's the domain on the website?
Carpetsanitizers.com.
Okay.
You can find me there or see me around town.
All right.
You can always call or text the business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here. I wish you the best of luck in all your future ventures.
Thank you. Same to you. Thanks, James.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Real Pasadena Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Real Pasadena is your local online source where we cover the real news and highlight the real people impacting our community. Be sure to check us out at realpasadenamd.com, where you'll also find all the show notes and additional episodes of the podcast. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, be well, my friends.